Okay, so picture this. You're getting ready for a huge, sold-out stage performance. You're not just going to walk out on stage cold, right? Of course not. You'd have a dress rehearsal to get the lighting right, check the sound, make sure every single cue lands perfectly. Well, that crucial dress rehearsal in the world of scientific research is called a pilot study, and we're going to dive into why it's so incredibly important.
Look, a big research project is a massive deal. I mean, we're talking about a huge commitment of money, countless hours from entire teams of people, and tons of resources and equipment. The stakes to get it right from the get-go are unbelievably high.
And that's the scary question, isn't it? What if your survey questions are just confusing? What if your tech glitches out? Or even worse, what if there's a huge flaw in your core design that you don't spot until you're already halfway in and have burned through most of your budget?
And that is exactly where the pilot study comes in. It is the elegant, practical, and frankly, indispensable solution. It's that trial run, that feasibility check. It is the dress rehearsal that happens before the main event, making sure the final performance is as close to perfect as it can be.
So what is it exactly? Well, you can think of a pilot study as a miniature trial version of your main project. Its job isn't to find the answers to your big research question. No, its job is to find the problems. Problems with your methods, your tools, your procedures, before you commit all those resources to the full-scale study.
And you know, this quote from the source material really just hits the nail on the head. A pilot study is your safety net. It's that one critical step that can save a project from becoming exactly what it says here, an expensive disaster.
You gotta love how the research literature puts it. Calling it primary prevention is just perfect. It's not about doing damage control later. It's about preventing the problems from ever happening in the first place. It really does lay down the essential building blocks for a study that's actually going to work.
So what really goes on during this research rehearsal? Well, it isn't just some casual run-through, that's for sure. It's a super systematic process, kind of like a pre-flight checklist for your research. Let's walk through it.
So a good pilot study usually follows these 6 key steps. It all starts with planning and design, where you figure out exactly what you need to test. Then you move on to testing your instruments, putting your surveys or equipment through their paces. Next up is evaluating logistics and feasibility, where you look at the real-world stuff, like can you actually get people to participate? After that, you do a trial data analysis, just to make sure the data you're collecting will work with your software. All of that leads to review and refinement, where you use all that feedback to fix what's broken. And finally, you have the final reporting, where you document everything and create a clear plan for the main study.
And the real magic here is in the super practical questions you get to answer. Like, is this questionnaire way too long? Are the instructions totally confusing? Is our recruitment plan actually going to work? How long does this really take? And will our data play nicely with our analysis software? I mean, these aren't just minor details, you know? This is the kind of stuff that can totally make or break your entire study.
So yeah, the whole point is to check if your plan is even feasible. Can this actually be done? It helps you sharpen your focus and, most importantly, get the bugs out of the system before the real show begins.
But hey, as powerful as a pilot study is, it's not a crystal ball. It has its own incredible advantages, but also some really important limitations. And you've got to understand both to use it the right way.
Okay, so let's break this down. On the one hand, the advantages are huge. You test your methods, you perfect your tools, you get a real-world estimate of time and costs, and you even get to train your research team. But on the other hand, and this is super important, you have the limitations. Because the sample size is so small, you absolutely cannot generalize the results to a bigger population. It's also underpowered, which means you can't get a reliable estimate of an effect size, basically how strong the phenomenon you're studying is. And that leads us to the most critical rule of thumb. A pilot study is for testing your methods, not for testing your hypotheses. Big difference.
And this right here is the main reason why you can't generalize. A pilot study is tiny. We're talking just 10 to 20% of your final intended sample size. With a group that small, there's just no way you can be confident that what you're seeing would hold up in a bigger, more diverse crowd.
All right, so the rehearsal is done, the data is in, the feedback's been collected, and now the research team gets to the big moment, the final call.
And we're not talking about just a quick debrief here. This is a huge evidence-based decision point. I mean, the entire fate of the project hangs on what's decided right here based on everything they just learned.
And really, it all boils down to one of 3 outcomes. First, proceed. The rehearsal was a success, the plan is solid, it's showtime. Second, pivot. Okay, the pilot study found some issues, so major changes are needed before going big. And the third option? Stop. And this one is so important. The pilot showed the project just isn't workable as it is. But stopping here isn't a failure. It's actually a huge success of the pilot process because it saved all that time and money from being wasted.
So a pilot study is just this incredible tool, right? It's that dress rehearsal that really sets the stage for success. But it does make you think, if this is the rehearsal, what other behind-the-scenes steps, what other checks and balances are in place to make sure science gets it right? Something to chew on. Thanks for tuning in for this explainer.